One of the most obnoxious things about owning a printer is having to buy the ink. For some reason, printer ink is absolutely one of the most expensive accessories that you are forced to repeatedly buy for any piece of electronic equipment that you have. And now, according to a new class action lawsuit, the Epson Printer Company has allegedly made it to where if you try to put maybe some cheaper ink, some non-Epson brand ink in their printer, it disables the printer entirely. Joining me now to talk about this class action is Scott Hardy with TopClassActions.com. And Scott, this is infuriating. I don't have an Epson printer at the house, but the printer I do use, we do not buy the name brand ink because it is, it's $50+ for a single cartridge. And so Epson thinks maybe they found a way around it by just creating a printer that just shuts down entirely if you try to put in this cheaper ink.
Right, exactly, because in this case, we're talking about ink cartridges. And so you can go ahead and buy the Epson name brand ink cartridge, and it'll work. But as you mentioned, this can be a tremendous markup. The printer companies depend on these ink refills to make a lot of their profit. So in this case, if you use a non-Epson ink cartridge, your printer could stop working and you'd have major problems until you call them and they go, you can't do that. Even though it's your printer, it should be your decision. And this has been a common tactic that printer manufacturers have used for years. When you had your laser printer, you tried to get that toner refilled, maybe use a remanufactured toner. Oh, well, guess what? You may very well have problems using it. And of course, they got hit with class actions back then. But, same case here. You've got the Epson printer. You try to use these, save some bucks, you're going to pay for it. Now, I'd like to note that I have an Epson printer that I use to even print out these handy dandy papers here. And I have their tank, their Eco Tank model. And those, even though I did use the Epson ink, you could, in theory, use a less expensive. So Epson doesn't do this across all of their printers, but in this case, they did get hit for not allowing and actually disabling their printer. And they're doing it under the guise of providing good customer service because they don't want you to use a substandard part.
Well, it's really interesting too because here at the office we used to have up till a couple years ago was nothing but Epson printers, and they were the big giant ones. You had to have the cartridge that was about this big with the toner in it, and so yes, they ordered all the generic ones because it would save $30 or $40 per cartridge. But eventually we phased those out. I forget who we're with now. I think it's Lexmark. But anyway, the generic one saves people a ton of money. It saves the consumer, average, this is my home printer. It can save you maybe $10, $15, or $20 per cartridge at your house. But for businesses, now that's where the big bucks come in. Because those big giant, toner cartridges are crazy expensive. So if you have to purchase 100 of them, but you can save $40 per by going with the generic version, that's a lot of money, one, that Epson doesn't get because you're not buying their name brand cartridges, but two, it's a lot of money that companies get to save by going to generic. So this is a business issue, this is a consumer issue, and this could potentially be a lot of money lost by these printer companies when you buy the non-name brand printer ink or toner. So yeah, they could be losing a lot of money on this, and this would help explain why they're saying, no, you've got to have our cartridge. Maybe there's a chip in there and the printer can recognize that it's not ours, but that's still deceitful. It's, not fair to the consumers or to the businesses or whoever's doing this. I bought this printer. I want to put in whatever ink I want to put in, and you're not letting me have that choice anymore.
Right, yeah, and so Epson is going to continue to go ahead and talk about how they're trying to do it because they're trying to emphasize the quality of the genuine Epson brand and enhancing customer experience and developing new products with the profits from locking you out from using non-name brand cartridges with your Epson printer. We'll see how this one actually plays out because, as I said, Epson already has their They're EcoTank models that allow you to use whatever ink you want, because you just take that in and you spray that ink into that tank, and we move on to keep on printing. Thankfully, so far, they haven't made you actually scan something to show that you are using a genuine Epson product. We'll see if they actually move to that with their Epson EcoTanks. That would be an interesting development, and I'm sure you would see another class action filed.
And part of the issue, too, is that the company, as far as I can tell, maybe you can correct me on this if I'm wrong, but they're not letting customers know ahead of time when you, at the point of purchase, that, oh, hey, by the way, you can only use our cartridges with this device. That's another facet of this. As far as I know, again, maybe I'm wrong here.
Right, correct. That's a big issue, is that you might expect that you're going to buy it, you're going to be, you're paying top dollar for your Epson printer, but then you'll be able to save some money by using a generic or a remanufactured ink cartridge. But in this case, nope. You have to use the Epson cartridges, or you will lock up your printer.
For more information about this issue, please follow the link in the description of this video. Head over to topclassactions.com and make sure while you're there you sign up for their weekly newsletter filled with stories like this and so many others that are vital to American consumers. Scott Hardy with Top Class Actions, thank you very much for telling us this story today.
You're welcome. Thanks for your time, Farron.